Hey, what's up, y'all? Mack Garrison here with Dash Studio, and we got another good one for you. Another series in the speaker series. We got the talented Julie Kraft hanging out with me today. And if you don't know Julie Kraft, you should, because Julie is a technical-minded animator and broadly skilled 2D and 3D motion generalist. From the day she first opened After Effects in 2001 until now, she has had her hands in almost every possible aspect of our industry. Julie is a highly successful freelancer and has become a trusted creative for countless studios and clients throughout her career. She is self-taught and began growing her skills before motion design was even defined as a career path, which is relatable to all of us. As a leader and founder of Boxfort, a thriving creative collective and co-working space in Detroit, she has been instrumental in fostering creative collaboration and community growth, and we love that. Welcome to the show, Julie. So glad to have you here.
I'm happy to be here very much.
Julie, I'm just going to be your hype person because I feel like reading your list of accolades, I mean, you've done everything. You've worked with everyone. You're so immensely talented. Maybe you could start the conversation off with a little bit of your journey. How did you find yourself into this world of freelance motion design? Where did that really begin for you?
Yeah, so as you sort of mentioned in my bio, I started doing motion graphics before it was defined, sort of, what is it? Like a aspect
field
of the industry.
Or anything.
Yeah, it was a field.
What the hell is this thing?
Yeah, right. So it was like always, video editor or whatever. So the first time I even did anything with video, luckily my high school had a TV and radio station in the high school. So there was actually after school radio shows. I had my own radio show, a Christian punk and ska music radio show.
Thick. Nice. Excellent.
So that's something. I branched it into a little bit of electronic music at the time too. But yeah, it was all like Christian music, because I grew up Christian, whatever. Another story for another time.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's why I started working with media. And then like on the video side, they had a TV station. We do like video announcements throughout the school. Every classroom had a TV in it. So we kind of do like a broadcast style setup. And they had like I don't know if you know, like an Amiga video toaster. It's like an older dedicated hardware computer that could do a bit of 3D.
Oh,
cool.
It
mainly had this like sheep dropping transition thing, whatever. But that was my first like intro to any sort of like nonlinear editing and stuff. And then the actual switcher thing that like did the newscasts, you could do lower thirds, and I was able to animate the lower thirds. So really the first motion graphics I did was an animated title slate underneath like people for the school announcements.
Oh, that's funny. When you were like making it, where people were like, "Oh, this is so rad. What is this?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, who knows if they even noticed? Like, just like still no one notices what we do now. But yeah, I excelled in the class and I loved it. And and it was also special to me because, I mean, I was totally like, I know I'm like super cool now. Everybody loves me, I guess, but I wasn't like that. No, in high school, like I was totally a nerd, stuffed in the locker kind of whatever kind of person. No, I just like I had some close friends, but when it came to the broader like high school social structure, I did not have a place. I didn't understand it. I didn't know who I was, where I was, whatever. And the TV and radio group, it was cool because also kids came from the other two schools in the school district. So it was like different people from different schools. We all came together, and it was very much like my first like taste of a community and it was kind of like the movie The Breakfast Club or Freaks and Geeks. It was just like a whole mismatch of different, some of the people were like football players, popular, some were totally like the misfits or the whatever,
Molly
the
Ringwalds or whatever,
all that stuff. And it didn't matter, like all that status was like erased there in that little micro community. And honestly, like that's the vibe I bring. Like nowadays, like what I try to do with Boxfort is that same vibe. It's just like a place where like, all the freaks go and we all have fun and there's no, pretentiousness. So
I love that you said you're like, I'm cool now, but it's still Queen of the Nerds, right? We're also nerding out here in this like weird area of motion design. Yeah. So I love that.
I'm like cool within a very small community, which is our whole animation community. No one else knows me outside of that. I'm not on like the Forbes, 30 or what. I'm way over 30 now, so I don't know. I'm not, I'm not known.
If there was a Forbes for the animation industry, you might make it. You might get on there.
Maybe.
Right?
I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. So that all started in high school, and then like after high school, I went to this school called Spec Howard, which is like a broadcast school. It's just like a 1-year program. Did more like newsy stuff. Did a little nonlinear editing, but we still had some reel to reel, like analog editing, all that stuff. So I did a bunch of stuff with tapes, Betacam, SP, all that stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, the really old school stuff. And that was all like just kind of starting to switch over to digital. So yeah, I went there, and then my first job was like at this local cable station doing like commercials. Actually, I started as like a production coordinator, just assigning
Cool.
work.
Yeah,
And then like one day a freelance, here's where my motion graphic like career really started, is in 2001, like I said, when I opened up After Effects. So a freelancer came in to our, studio, a freelance editor, and he made like lightning, he used the AE lightning effect.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like hooked. And it wasn't just the lightning, it was also like the compositing he did to like make light go on like a person's face and stuff.
Sure.
And from there is when I was really hooked. So that's when I started learning After Effects. Like a year or two later, they moved me into a graphics position, and I absolutely grew up with Video Copilot, Grayscale Gorilla.
Oh, yeah.
I learned like everything from them. And then, yeah, just sort of like watched the industry grow. And now it's a real thing.
Also wild. I mean, like I remember those days when you had like Adobe on a disc, right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't, you weren't subscribing to it like we are now, and just seeing that evolution, I think, from really the hardware days of it to like how easy it is to get into and adopt now. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of perspective that comes with that. I think, do you have any takes on just the change that's currently happening in our space? And the reason I ask this is because, you've seen so much change in your lifetime from like when you started to like what we're doing now. I think there's a lot of uncertainty and even discomfort that comes with change. I don't know. What's your take on this industry and kind of like how it's been evolving and how it's continuing to evolve?
Yeah. So this is definitely like, in my talk, I'm going to dive right into that. Like all the topics that we usually dance around, I'm going to jump right in. The whole specialist versus generalist. I have a lot of answers, whether or not you agree with me or whatever. I have some answers though. So like I uniquely have become a very flexible generalist person in my career. I mean, in life also, been thrown some curveballs in life and in career. And so like, I don't know, like I'm not really, I don't fear as much, like when VR came on the scene and 360 video and everyone thought this is the new thing, none of it became the thing, throughout all of it, there's been like a need for custom content creation, and we're still doing that. And yeah, AI can like take all the stuff we've made already and make stuff like it, but it can't make anything new.
Sure.
It doesn't have intuitive leaps. The AI we know is Gen AI. It's not AGI, which is general intelligence. So it's not, it's not Skynet. It's not whatever.
Right.
It's not the AI we see in movies at all.
Right.
So it's just like a filter. And, maybe I'll explain some of that in my talk a little bit.
I don't want you to give away too much, but I love that you're going to come.
No. There's
like
tons of secrets I'm not giving away. Don't worry.
That's good. Well, it's interesting because it's like it has opened the door to like, I think I was talking to Michelle Higa-Fox with Buck on another one of our interviews and just talking about getting into technology and new tech that's coming out. And so with everything scary that comes down the line, there's also opportunity and cool areas to play. And one of those I know that you've been playing around a lot in is Rive. Maybe you could speak a little bit to some of your work you've been doing in Rive and what's kind of brought you into that space.
Yeah. So for me, weirdly, like the abilities of software usually drive my creativity. Like when I started learning After Effects or when I started learning Cinema 4D, I was like, oh, you can do this thing. That gives me ideas, I came from like the opposite of a traditional art background. I was like, video editor first, like computer stuff first, kind of, and then got into art stuff. Like besides that trade school I went to, I'm self-taught. So everything design kind of came later for me. So for me, it's like when I get a new tool, I feel like it really inspires me. And with Rive, so leading up to like the recent years, and I used to do stuff with like automotive work, a lot of app UI work and everything. And all of that was like, basically doing mock-ups in After Effects and like exporting it for developers and then learning how to like say, hey, like this is how it should look. Here's a video. But then I would have to say like, this should animate in like however many milliseconds. Like I have to like document stuff for developers, and they would do their best, I mean, they're amazing. They can make systems and awesome things, but they often can't get the visuals quite, right there.
Sure.
Like the nuance is not there, right? So what's awesome with Rive, it's like direct. You build a Rive file, you build a system, you build the software, and you give it to engineering, but you give engineering all the inputs and everything. It's like they make it work, but like everything that moves, you've created it. It's like it's awesome. So not, and that might seem like, oh, well, I'm an animator. I don't want to deal with the that like side of it or whatever. But you can go as deep into the programming side of it as you want or not. Like because basically with Rive, you can animate just like you do in After Effects. It's actually, I would say it's more limited than After Effects, but has an awesome like puppeting tool and whatever, bones and stuff. So yeah, you can totally animate, and it's what you see is what you get, and you can get into the state machine, and really pretty simply, you can start to make some basic interactions. And so it just opened my mind up. Like it's so much nicer to have direct control and on the output. So
well, it just feels like it's opening a new vertical for a lot of people that haven't been able to operate in, right? There's the friction of, I don't really know code. How do I get into it? Or how do I even work with someone who is using code on the back end, which I find really fascinating. Is there any project, either personal or client related, if you're able to talk about it, that comes to mind where you've used Rive that you've just been especially proud of?
I mean, all the Duolingo stuff. Like I got to, animate the perfect streak fireball.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that.
Something that people see. Some of that was like already kind of roughed in After Effects, and then I like redid a lot in Rive, and then like refined it. There's a lot of people touching it, but I definitely got to have a big part of it. And that was cool because it's like, I don't know, like I knew that what I was exporting was going to be in the app. I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't going to change. I mean, if creatives changed it, but they didn't really. So it was awesome to like know that like, even though, okay, I'm putting this in, it's not going to be in the app for like months, 6 months, a year later. I don't know. But knowing that like, oh, what I made is actually going in there directly. That's awesome.
Yeah. And just the visibility of it. Because a lot of times there's various projects that you work on that, either don't see the light of day or it's internal and things like that. It's nice to have a very public facing piece to be like, oh, look, Ma, I made that. This is what I do for a living.
Yeah. And I have very few of like, I feel like I've been kind of in the background for a long time. Like I haven't worked on Spider-Verse or whatever. I don't have any like really, really big high profile things. Like I haven't really worked on any movie titles or whatever. I would, hint, but
yeah, that's right. If anyone's listening, cough, cough.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, it just hasn't happened, and that's okay. And like, I had an idea for where I wanted my career to go. When I was younger, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take over the world with 3D animation. And yeah, I've done some awesome 3D stuff. But like I said, I'm loving doing Rive, which is all 2D, and I'm faking a lot of 3D, with shapes and stuff.
Well, it's really interesting to me because awesome. I feel like listening to a little bit of your background and how you came up through the motion space, it was really a hardware kind of start that moved into more the software thing, and then you're really seeing all this transition. It just feels like you're really comfortable with tech. And I know you would describe yourself as a technical animator. I think about some of the programs you use from like Rive, Figma, Lottie, After Effects, Cinema 4D. Do you still have kind of like a home that you feel most comfortable in? Like, is there always a starting point before you bridge into these other elements?
Yeah, I mean, After Effects is like just like
bread and butter
hand. Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I know it so well. There's always weird shortcuts and stuff I do, nudging keyframes that, I just know it, and yeah, still Cinema 4D. I want to try out Blender, but I know Cinema quite well. So yeah, but I feel mostly comfortable in After Effects, and it's a bloated, like it's got some issues. You have to install a million scripts to get what you want, but it does, what we need and what I need. So. And that's why it's nice about Rive, like how Rive is very similar to After Effects in a lot of ways. So,
well, I was going to ask, like, for some folks who might be listening to this, I think there's certain apprehension in trying something new. It's like, oh, I could do this, but I could get it done in After Effects. It could look okay, so I'll just start there. How do you convince people to move past that, try something new, get comfortable in the uncomfortable?
Well, it can be refreshing. Like when I opened up Rive the first time, I'm like, oh, this is snappy. This is opening right up. I can open it in browser and on desktop. I can have two Rives, like one on one monitor, one on the other. And you can go onto the Rive community and open up anyone's Rive file and be like, how'd they do this? Open it up in the browser, look at it, like that's how they did it, and then build it yourself. It's like, it's right there. It's so wonderful. You can't open up two After Effects files, or you can open, or what I mean. But it's amazing to just have that, because like that helped me so many times just learn like, oh wow, that's how they did that.
So, and it's this whole like open source mentality a little bit almost, right? It's like you can always have access to how stuff's doing, and the community gets better with every new creation that people are doing. Oh, that's super rad. I love that.
And then there's another one, WOMP 3D, which is like a browser-based 3D program, and that I recommend that to anyone who wants to get into 3D who's like never touched it. It's super not intimidating. So I think, it's like the chance of like, you think it's daunting, but you might actually have some surprise of like how refreshing it can be, and kind of take you back to that, Zen mind, beginner's mind. Like the whole beginner's mindset is super refreshing. Like if you've been doing something one way for a long time and like you just can't break through, or you can't think of any new ideas, it can really like change your perspective.
That's super cool. Well, I know you mentioned earlier that like you hadn't had a chance to work on like a feature film or things, that Duolingo was really cool because it was a very visible piece. But you have worked with some dope brands, like I think Ford, Toyota, Lexus. I mean, you're in Detroit Rock City, so you're doing all sorts of car stuff. How's it been working with like electric vehicle companies like those?
Well, I haven't really worked with automotive in a bit now, but I did do a lot, and starting with like the auto show stuff and everything, lots of big screen display stuff. It was interesting. So, just like with a big ad agency or something, it's a slow process. Feedback can come way later than it should, and so forth. So the opposite of a nimble environment, right? So there's that. There's responding to that, and also like checking your ego and be like, okay, the feedback is coming from people that are far removed. So, can't take anything personally.
Right.
But so there was, it's been a good lesson in that. Working on actual in-vehicle stuff was fun, because like that was the first time I really got to do like UI work, and it felt like with electric vehicles and stuff, they're trying a lot of new stuff. And it felt like designing kind of like spaceship user interface.
Yeah, I bet. That's fun.
So that was fun. And like a ton of stuff like was made by me and others that was totally not used, like tons and tons of different directions and everything, like way too much work that wasn't used. But, it was a nice exercise, and the muscle of like learning like, okay, well, this has to work with people barely paying attention to it because it can't be distracting. And so that gave like, I had a few years of like really being immersed in that. And that really gave me a good understanding of UX from a human interaction perspective. And I kind of take that with me everywhere now with Duolingo and app work and whatever. So
that's really cool. It's so interesting. I think for anyone that's been in the space for a while, or like we have, you've kind of seen it all. I've done plenty of projects that never saw the light of day. They just got crushed, right? Yeah. Or you get the last minute stakeholder weighing in on feedback and killing a project. I'm curious from your perspective, since you've seen so much, is there something in particular about our industry that you still just absolutely love? You're just like, oh, this is like, I get up and I'm excited to do X, Y, Z, or I love these things. And then conversely, I want to know like, what's the thorn in your side? What's like the one thing in our industry you're like, oh, I'm so tired of X?
Yeah, you bet. Oh man, there's so many annoying things. So I love talking about annoying stuff. I'm gonna complain about so much stuff on stage, I tell you.
That's great.
It's gonna be fun. So what do I love? I mean, what I love is just like, there's very little ego, like most people I work with, whatever, I absolutely already consider friends or would consider friends. There's a lot of people that I work with that don't live locally. If they did, I'm sure we'd hang out a lot. It's just, I don't know. It's just very refreshing. Like, I feel comfortable, it's like very little intimidation factor, right?
Love that.
So that's awesome. And like, I love that, at Dash Bash, like a lot of your intros you've done, like you're always like, hey, make sure you talk to people here. Like people that inspire you, talk to them. Like we, all of us who are on stage or whatever, have any sort of platform, we all want to hear from students, from new people. Like the perspectives like that newer people have is very refreshing to us. It's not just what we can teach you, it's what we can learn. So, we might be busy. We don't mean to offend anyone by not responding, whatever, but so yeah, the approachableness of everyone is just so awesome, so refreshing. It's still a thing that everyone who's in a different industry is like, oh my gosh, like, in the insurance business, people aren't like that, or at dentistry school or
Yeah,
whatever.
dentists aren't
It's just,
connecting with dentists all the
right.
time,
Yeah,
sharing
so
tea stories.
it's magic. It's as intense as like the political climate and everything going on is like we have our bubble. We have our kind of safe place where a lot of us can connect. So that is just so refreshing, and I don't think that'll ever change.
I love that. Now I need the
Yeah.
the Festivus, right? The complaints.
Festivus.
The
Oh my
like,
gosh.
"Y'all have problems with
All
these
right,
people."
well, okay, so the other day I saw like a job posting for like a producer or something,
Sure.
whatever. And producers, which absolutely make our lives wonderful. But it was like something like, we need this, this, and this. And it was like, working knowledge of C4D preferred. I'm like, C4D for a producer?
For a producer? Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, like, I don't know. Job postings have been off the rails for a long time. It's always like, yeah, we need a, rock star who lives and breathes, who loves branding, who loves working. Oh, my dog's barking. Great. Yeah, because I got excited.
He got excited too. Yeah, it's like
my dogs are like, oh my gosh, don't even tell me. Yeah, like,
someone who knows all this stuff, but like has 10 years
like,
of experience, but they need to be a junior role or whatever it is.
Yeah. Our studio is nimble and like, we do things a little different here. And you love to, just work all day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so over that stuff. It's like, I can smell like, a spin or BS a mile away. And I'm like, okay, just be honest. Like, yes, be like, okay, to do this job, you do need a working knowledge of this software. You need experience in this. You need like, 1 year, or you need 5 years, or this role is senior, you need like 10 plus years. Like, yes, be honest about that stuff. But like the other stuff, you're asking for something that doesn't exist, like there isn't a person who's just a perfect rock star that's going to be able to do all that stuff and isn't going to have like really deep needs of like direction and guidance or even like, like benefits they need or time off they need. Like we're flesh bags of meat. Like, you just think about like
seats, right?
I know, it's like if you're doing a job post for a person, like you got to think realistically about it, and you got to like start with some respect for that person. It's like the environment right now, LinkedIn, where like kind of AI will filter resumes and stuff is like really crazy. So within our industry, which is still pretty small and stuff, I think we can be a little more thoughtful with our job postings, a little more intentional for sure. So
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a good red flag is if the job description is a litany of all these different facets and multiple roles. That's a red flag for that position. How about from a freelance standpoint? What are some other red flags you look for if a client reaches out? What's something that gives you an indication that this might not be the right project or fit?
Yeah. Well, if someone emails me and then very quickly texts me or calls me, like if they contact me on multiple platforms and it's been like not even 24 hours since I've responded, it's like, no, I don't like this.
No go.
Like this,
too much.
I've had very few like bad things, like really nasty moments, with people working with them. But there's been a couple like, industry people I've had to like, break up with, quote unquote. Because I'm like, no, it's just this person adds stress to the project. And I mean, I'm fortunate that I have enough work that I can like be like, no, I don't need to work with that person anymore. So I'm not going to. And some of those studios, some of those people, like most of those are, aren't really functioning. Those studios aren't around. Or yeah, I've had that where like, so there's that. And there's also like, there's teams I've worked with where I'm like, they're not gelling, or they're like openly fighting on Slack. Like a few things are like, I can sense this isn't right.
Some internal turmoil, right?
And I'm like, and often like, I remember one time there was that, and I'm like, I don't know what is going on with this studio. And then I got like a thing in the mail saying they went bankrupt, about billing and stuff. Fortunately, I already had made my money, but I was like, okay, well, that makes sense to
wild.
me.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I saw how that happened.
Yeah, that team was not gelling, and they were like totally not in tune, like very bad at communicating with me. Like, I don't know what was going on. So,
well, that's a really good point though, too, is like, you got to kind of understand how you as an individual likes to work and seek out people that like to work in that regard. Because you're right, there's many solutions to a problem. Some people like to work a certain way and others don't. But if you're not gelling or there's friction points on how you like to work together, that's problematic. So yeah, that's definitely a red flag. How about on the opposite side, not to be negative, we can be positive here. What are green flags? What are some things you're looking for? We're like, oh, these are good indications that this partnership is going to go well.
So often the less a person says. So if someone contacts me and they're like, saying, oh, we've got all these ideas, we've got this whole thing, like this big project, whatever. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't think this project is going to happen. They don't know it, but it's not happening. I can like sense it. And it's almost where it's like they have to convince me it's like a real thing. I'm like, nah.
Like, this is really happening, I promise.
Yeah. So when it's just like, hey, we've got this is the booking, I want a little bit of information about what it's going to be, but it's like a couple sentences like, hey, these dates, what's your rate? What are you available? If it's just like a little bit of information where I know that like, okay, they don't have time to like say a whole bunch to me. They're probably talking to a lot of people. Like, I like that. I'm like, okay, this is the thing that's really happening. Like, this is serious. So I can kind of sense what's serious and what's not. And that also means that like, oh, they're probably not going to ask like more of me than they should.
They're just going to be happy to get something done that looks good. Right.
Yeah. So there's that. There's, just like not over communicating, but communicating enough, giving me time to do my stuff. And then also, a visible coherence to the team where I'm like, oh, they're having fun. Like, they're a cohesive unit. I've definitely worked recently with some teams. I worked with Hook for a while. I worked with Shopify for a bit. And I'm like, oh, these teams are like gelling. Like I could tell that they were like having a good time, not just goof around, but have a good time. Like same with Duolingo. Like I'm like, okay, these teams they're gelling. They're good. They're doing good,
Culture makes a difference.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're a part of a support network, not that it's a bunch of different silos trying to work together. 100%.
And they're not being like unrealistically positive or like, I don't know. They're not like drinking the Kool-Aid in a way that you wouldn't like. Right. It's just like they're being realistic. They're like, I tried to do this, it didn't work, and this workflow sucks, or this thing about our company, like we need to change it because I'm like, I had to do way too much last week and whatever. I'm like, that's what I want. Like, yeah, honesty. Like we're real people. Let's do it.
I love that. It's just being authentic on everything. Be authentic on your job post. Be authentic on how you're working with people. Support one another. I mean, it's like, it's not a novelty here. I mean, it's just like fundamentals of being a good human, right? Which our industry has done a good job of for a while. And mostly, I think that's one of the things that I do really like about it. I'm always inspired by folks. In fact, you mentioned Hook. I actually caught up with them the other day because I thought their work looked really good. I'd never met them before. So I reached out and just wanted to make the connection. From your perspective, I'm so curious. There's so many people who are coming to the Bash that look up to you, the work that you do. Who's Julie Craft look up to? Who are some artists out there that you're like, I just love their work?
So, like I said, I grew up, with the golden age of MoGraph. So, I started really getting into things when MK12 did those Stranger Than Fiction, graphics.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. That movie Oblivion that G-Monk did design stuff for.
Oh, yeah. G-Monk, phenomenal.
And then there was like the Ash Thorpe, like FITC, Tokyo graphic thing. And these are all like things that are more on the like graphic designy side rather than the illustrative.
I was even going to say experimental and technical side too, as well,
Yeah. So that stuff, some egos in there, but, can't deny good work. Not just by a lot of people. And then there's a couple that you probably don't know about. There's a studio called Zeitgeist. They always did a lot of very interesting, like experimental 3D work.
Ooh.
Also the studio One Size in the Netherlands.
I'm familiar with One Size.
Yeah, One Size.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a ton of
I haven't heard of Zeitgeist though. That's based in Germany?
I think so, yeah. So those are some that like throughout the years I paid attention to. More recently though, now I would say like who I'm really inspired by, Joyce Ho. I think spoke at the Dash before, yeah.
Yes.
She is, very interesting. She's done some cool esports work recently, but she does some good like experimental film and everything that I admire. That I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. She like has this unique voice and she does these films that are more like not necessarily character driven, like more like design driven or experimental driven, which I love that stuff. But by far, like so that's a lot of my inspiration right now. But honestly, what I'm most inspired right now is Marvel Rivals, the game.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm playing it. I'm on PS5. You can play it on PC, whatever. But like the design in that game is phenomenal. It's like there's so many motion moments. It's just like a feast for the eyes and ears. It's
I love that.
As soon as you open the game, like the opening cinematic, and it's all like kind of illustration that's flat, but then combined with a little bit of 3D, but it all has like an illustrated look. And yeah, I would, even if you don't play games, I would try to like watch a highlight reel from it, or at least like open up the game and just scroll through it. It's free. It's free to play, so you can install it and you can go through it. even like you go to the hero section, you go through all the character portraits, and like you go to a portrait and there's like a little motion, like a little thing, and it's just like really well done. And yeah, games have done that for years. I used to play Overwatch, and now kind of Rivals has overtaken Overwatch, and there's been a lot. They did a lot of good work, but they kind of dropped the ball, and now Rivals is just like so crisp, so good. I don't know. It's just like chef's kiss. It's like everything I want. Yeah. So
I'm not even the biggest gamer, and I want to get in to see this game just based on the aesthetics and the eye candy you're describing.
So inspiring. And like every stage, it's a team shooter, so you get into a stage, and then whatever map you're on, there's a little intro for the map. They have like some story, but like who cares about story? It just looks cool, right? But yeah, there's a little intro, and it's like, oh my god, it's an amazing seamless combination of 2D illustration with parallaxing, a little bit of puppeting, and 3D. I'm like, this is just so good, and somehow it loads instantly. It's just like the best like combination of like current like technical advances in like game systems, being able to load all this stuff quick, and just like short form content. It's like short form content at its best, like the way we want it to be. So there's tons of little quick digestible moments. You even move between buttons on the UI, and like I put my headphones on the other day because I was talking with people playing as a team, and I heard sound design that I didn't hear on the speakers before. I was like, whoa, those clicks on the little buttons. I'm like, those are really good. Oh my god.
Oh,
so I'm just like, this is so deeply. It's a company called NetEase Games I've never heard of, so I got to look into the team on it. But it's Marvel Rivals is everything now. Right now,
I love it. Even talking about the little elements of sound design, I'm sitting here looking behind you. You've got a bass behind you. You've got keyboards over your left shoulder. I know before we started hopping on this call, we were talking a little bit about DJing. Speak a little bit to me towards your love of music. Is it kind of just become this side hobby and passion of yours?
Yeah. So I've been probably dabbling in like the synthesizer, electronic music realm for like 7-ish years. I would say. Before that, when I was younger, I took some piano lessons, played around with the Chinese violin, the erhu. It's like a 2-string violin. A little bit of music stuff, but I've been dabbling in like musical hardware for a bit here, and I would say just the past couple of years, it really has come together into like a real thing.
Nice.
Like where I'm like, oh, I feel like I've got like a sound I like, and I'm just enjoying making music. And then I just did January, which is like Inktober for music.
Oh, cool. That's right.
I did
January,
31 days.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I've got like a YouTube playlist, and you'll see it on my Instagram Reels. But yeah, I recorded, posted, video, me making music every day for 31 days. So It's the most content I've ever created. I hate content creation.
You're becoming an influencer.
Yeah, I'll never do this again. It was like both wonderful and extremely hard. Some days I was like, oh, I do not want to do this. But it got me through, like, there's friction when it comes to making music with hardware, especially because, like, oh, I got to turn it on. Like, oh, is it all connected right? Whatever. But this got me through this experiment, this short-term sprint of content creation, which, I definitely recommend short-term, like, okay, I can handle this period of time of working really hard, right? But there's an end in sight. This short-term got me through a ton of friction of, like, making sure my setup was dialed in, making sure I could turn on the camera. There's a camera like right there, like just all ready to go. Turn it on, record, and like, concept to completion, like 1 to 2 hours max. It got me through a ton. So now, like, I think I've been able to get through like the electronic music, like production hurdles that were kind of blocking me from creativity. Now I feel like I can jump in and make stuff. And yeah, now I'm feeling good about, like, I performed a couple of times the past few years. I'm getting close to having an album ready, and I'm feeling like, yeah, I like this. And performing like in public, in front of people, literally like going and like playing like 9-10 p.m. at night, like, I'm too old for this stuff and I'm just getting started. I didn't think this would be such a thing, but I love it. And it's such a like amazing creative flush, and just like, wow, people are there physically, like feet away from me, enjoying what I'm creating. Like, yeah, it's hard, it's difficult, but oh my gosh, it's so rewarding. More rewarding than anything posting online or whatever. So
and also the accountability to do that every day. It probably reduced. It took friction initially, but then it probably got to a point where you were more comfortable in just creating and just naturally getting into that flow state a little bit faster. Because I know it's always hard with personal projects of any creative-minded project, is just getting into it, right? Because there's the little friction points of it. Very cool. Very cool. Well, we've been chatting here with Julie Kraft, who's a technical-minded animator, broadly skilled 2D and 3D motion generalist, and Julie is speaking at the Dash Bash this summer. So if you don't have your ticket, what are you doing? Grab a ticket. We have an optional third day of workshops on June 11th, and then a speaker series on the 12th and 13th. It's going to be tons of opportunity for hangouts. You get to meet Julie, you get to hang out with all the other speakers and the fantastic industry that we call motion design. Cannot wait to see you all there. Julie, thanks for hanging with us today. It was a good little tease. Excited to get to more of the nitty-gritty stuff in your presentation, but really enjoyed talking today.
You bet. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Have a good one.